Hey there. The camera is tilted a little bit offset like that to get around my windshield mount. Good morning, viewers. For those that are just jumping on, the camera is tilted a little bit like that to get around my windshield mount. Otherwise, you'd just be looking at the mount. So, as the sun comes up, this will get a lot more entertaining. So, I typically have between like 8 and 12 minutes of back road, then I get on the highway. And then probably about 20, 24, 25 minutes worth of highway, depending on stoplights. And then I got interstate, and then interstate, and then interstate, and then side road, and then I get to work. So I appreciate those that are hanging out. So, for those that just jumped on, I can see more people offset a little bit to get around the windshield mount. Otherwise, you'd just be looking at the mount. So we're going to be coming up on the highway here in a little bit, so it'll be a little lighter. You can see more. So this is the Missouri back road, eastern Missouri if it matters. Feel free to leave where you're from in the comment section if you want. Let me know where you're watching from. Appreciate that. I can't really read it right now because I'm driving. But I'll take a look at it later. Just curious where people are viewing from. So Now we're on the highway. There are, and I don't know if it's going to be light enough for you to be able to see, there are some experimental intersections along this highway before we get to the interstate that they're testing out. And it's not like a roundabout or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain. They have the stoplights and stuff different than what you typically would have. I mean, like the stoplight that we're coming up on, that's normal, but there's a couple further up, and I don't know if you'll be able to tell because it might not be light enough, but there's some that, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but essentially they route it differently to where people don't have to sit at the stoplight as long. And because it's almost like if you were on westbound, you actually cross over the eastbound and then you wait just to the offset of the other bound traffic, and then you turn into wherever you need to go. That way you're not, you know, it's weird, but it does seem to work. So I don't know whose experiment that is, but we are the guinea pigs, I guess, and it seems to be working pretty good. Overcast here today, so it's going to take a little longer for it to get light enough outside for you to really be able to tell the hills and such, but hopefully you can see stuff on the screen okay. And feel free to, you know, follow, subscribe, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to try to do this in the mornings going forward. So the area that I'm driving from is essentially where I grew up. Not essentially, I guess it is where I grew up, give or take about 15-20 minute difference. So like I'm driving by, off to the right is actually the high school that I grew up at. So all these back roads and all this stretch, I mean, short of being on autopilot, I just know it like the back of my hand. And I don't know if it's going to be out or not, and once again, I don't know if it's going to be light enough to see it, but there's an ongoing joke for the last month or so. Somebody has, yeah, looks like somebody actually moved it. It was not right back there, or if it was off in the grass. But essentially, somebody took a like a stop cone or a construction cone, and they're drawing different faces and putting different faces on it, almost like a potato man or potato person or whatever. And they give it different hair, like a mop head or a bag waving, you know, different stuff like that. And they're calling it Coney. And whoever moves it, they move it at night, and then the next morning people try to find it or whatever. So I don't know who moves it. I don't know who's hanging out at, you know, 12 to 4 a.m. to move it, but somebody does. And then they post it all over to social media in the morning whenever people find it. So, and then other people drive by and take pictures of it with their phones or whatever. So whatever, it gives people something to do, I guess. Once again, if I see there's, you know, people on, I can't read your text necessarily because I'm driving, but I do see a couple on. Feel free to add in the comment section where you're viewing from. But once again, I can't read it right now, but I'll go back and just look at it later. I like to know where people are viewing from. It just lets me know where my viewers are coming from. And feel free, I know I mentioned it a little bit ago, follow, subscribe, or whatever. I'm going to try to do this in the morning, and I do this in the afternoon as well, and everything's obviously light and you can see everything. a lot better. So you'll see whenever I go live, if you follow, subscribe. And then obviously it's about 48 to 53 miles from work to home and vice versa. So you do get to see a lot of stuff in the afternoon, depending on whenever I leave. I usually try to leave between 4 and 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So set a reminder, follow whatever, you'll see my live come up whenever I start going. But if I leave closer to 5:30, I usually do a side road. So you get to see, and I say side road, it's developed, but it's definitely not just an interstate. More stop signs and different stuff you can see. Mom and pop shops to strip malls to whatever. I mean, sometimes I'm not sure if they're asking for donations or just that excited about life, but sometimes there's just people dancing at intersections with their headphones on, and they just stand there and they just dance. They don't have like a donation thing or a sign or anything. They're just stand there and dance. I don't know if that's like their exercise. Instead of walking 3 miles or something like that, they just stand at the intersection and listen to their headphones and dance and smile and just off in their own little world. So they just, I guess they do that for a while and then they just go back home. I don't know. And it's not like they're in the intersection, like in the way. They're just off on the side or by the stoplight pole or whatever, just doing their thing, entertaining people, dancing. Realize there's a glare on the screen. Let me see if I can get the. Yeah, I think that's just the lighting this early. But something else, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I can see a cop on the side of the road up ahead because the lights are on. Most people just stay in the right lane. You're not supposed to stay in the right lane. You're supposed to get over. So, I'm assuming that's a law everywhere. But for whatever reason, there's a lot of people that don't do that. So, for instance, there's another cop that just pulled by. And I don't know if they're going to assist or not. But if I wouldn't have got over, there's a chance that that cop there, see? So that cop could have pulled me over for not getting over. So then get back over to the right lane. So, and for all those that just jumped on, I just saw a lot more people jump on. So the camera is tilted just offset to get around the dashboard, or I guess, sorry, the windshield mount. So that's why it's a little crooked. So this is Missouri, eastern side of Missouri. I'm driving into work. So if you want, go ahead and follow, subscribe. I'm going to try to do this in the mornings, and I also do this. I'm driving from work to home, so from the city out to rural area. So right now, if you care, we are on what's called Gravois or Highway 30. So it depends on if you live out here, you basically call the entire length of Highway 30 Gravois. because that's just what everybody grew up. Because I grew up out this way, but that's what essentially everybody grew up calling it, was just gravois. So whenever you finally start driving and you get where gravois turned into 30 or Highway 30, most people never call it Highway 30. They just keep calling it gravois. So anybody from the city says, oh, Highway 30, they're like, you mean gravois? No. See, so you can see there's a sign going across right there that says Gravois Road. That's where the highway used to go. So years ago, they straightened out Gravois and then they call it Highway 30. But everybody still calls it Gravois that lives out here, which confuses people, because whenever you're trying to give directions, nobody gives addresses out here. They just explain where to go. Like, I mean, if you got a party or something, you'll text or whatever the address, but people will say, go down Gravois and turn at the QT, and then go down 3 roads and turn at the Red Barn. And they're like, well, what's the street? I don't know. It's the road past the Red Barn. Well, which QT is it? It's the one past High Ridge, kind of thing. So that's just the way people talk around here. But then people up in the city, it's just like, just give me the address. I'll put it on my phone. Because we keep saying Gravois and it's actually Highway 30. So, and we're in High Ridge now. So essentially we went Dittmer, Cedar Hill, High Ridge, and then we'll do House Springs. Which actually, no, take that back. It's Dittmer, Cedar Hill, House Springs, High Ridge. So we're actually at the top, what's considered the highest ridge, which we're going to start evening out here. Which those that basically live west of here and never really come this way, whenever you get along this straight stretch, your ears will pop if you're not used to the pressure. Just because it's that much different. That's why they call it High Ridge, is because we are higher than what we were 20 minutes ago. So now everything kind of levels out for a bit, and then we might go down a little bit, and then it's essentially plateaued out, and then it goes up, down, like little hills or whatever, until you get to Mississippi, which we're not actually going all the way to the Mississippi today, so you're not going to see that far into the city. But once again, if you follow, subscribe, there's a couple times where I've got to go into some conferences where you'll get to actually see St. Louis itself. You'll be able to see the Mississippi, the old oil tankers and that kind of stuff on the side of the Mississippi, and tall buildings and all that kind of good stuff. So I just saw a couple other people that jumped on here. Good morning. Appreciate you watching. Once again, the camera's a little offset because the mount on my windshield, to get around that, I have to offset my phone a little bit. So that's why it's a little crooked. So, then let me know, whenever you jump on here, let me know where you're from in the comment section. Once again, I can't read it because I'm driving. But I go back through just to see where people are from and different stuff. So I appreciate your comments in the comment section. Just let me know where you're from, where you're viewing. Also, are you watching it on your phone or you're watching it on the TV? That's also something else that if you could put on the comment section, just let me know. Because I used to do it landscape mode because I thought people might be watching it on their big screen TVs to be able to see more. But then people said that they were actually watching it on their phone in portrait. So whenever I went landscape mode, it actually made it really small because they didn't want to flip their screen because they're used to being upright. So I try to make the viewers happy. So if you're watching it on a TV, and I really should be doing this live on landscape mode, let me know, because I'll change stuff. And once again, I can't read it right now, and I'm not going to change it real time. But if you follow or subscribe going forward, I'm going to try to do this in the mornings going forward. So I'm just curious if it's better for me to do it landscape or portrait for those watching. And obviously, if you're watching on a TV, landscape gives you a lot more to look at. But if you're watching it in portrait mode on your phone, then it makes everything really small and not entertaining unless you flip your screen, which some people don't want to do. Because if the majority of my viewers are actually watching stuff on their TV or in landscape mode, then I'll end up flipping it. And I'll do this real quick just to show you, and I'll put it back. But essentially, it'll be like that. And I don't know if you were able to see that or not, because my phone actually did a gray out screen whenever I did that. So I have to either start it in landscape mode or have it in portrait. I don't think it's going to let me flip it midway, so that's why I put it back. And once again, just comment if you'd rather watch this in portrait or landscape, and if you're viewing this on your phone or your TV and where you're from. It just helps me adapt to who's viewing. And you can also, I don't know if I said that too, I have my volume up and my mic on. So if you're able to jump on and leave, do voice, I should be able to hear you. I believe, anyways. The YouTube Live app updated the other day, so I'm getting used to these where they changed where stuff was on my phone. So there used to be a little thing on the bottom, which it doesn't show where it should be showing, so I'm not going to play with that while I'm driving. So once again, if you put where you're from, and if you're watching on your phone or on a TV, and if you'd rather watch on portrait or landscape, put that in the comment section, and I'll go back through after the live's done just to see, because I can't read it right now because I'm driving. And once again, this is Gravois or Highway 30 is what we're on right now. And the reason why it has two different names is because if you go far west, everybody calls it Gravois, because that's what it used to be called before they straightened everything out and they redid it. So there's a whole bunch of side road old Gravois, and then that ends up running into Highway 30, which then turns back into Gravois. So everybody still just calls this whole stretch Gravois if you're out west. If you're east, everybody calls it Highway 30. So, and then people in the middle just are kind of mixed. So this is the next one coming up is one of the experimental intersections. And we're going to stop at this red light where I can kind of explain it. And I'll come through here. If you follow or subscribe, you'll see, and actually if you want to look it up on the map, so this is Northwest Boulevard and Highway 30, okay? The next intersection, two intersections east of this, is the experimental intersection. It works great. It's amazing. So hopefully that's going to take off, and they're going to do that on more highway stretches. But it's hard to explain. You just have to kind of see it, and I don't know if it's light enough for you to really be able to see it. But I don't know. They put an extra lane on the outside of the highway on both sides that allows the people turning from the other bound way. Essentially, you go over to the other side while the other direction was already waiting. So then whenever the other section's going east or west, you're then turning north or south, and it doesn't affect it. So you can see off to the left there, that lets you go north. And then obviously this is a typical going south off to the right. But if you look at that car going across right there, they're actually going south. So now we're going east, and we're not waiting for that person going south. You see that? So they're going on the edge, and now they're going to turn south while we're already going east, and we're not waiting. So that timing, so this light right here, all the light is that we're going under was to allow the people going south to get onto the outside lane. And we're not waiting, and there goes a bike, dang. So anyway, that's an experimental intersection that just, it makes traffic flow so much better. It's amazing. Because that intersection used to take forever before they fixed that. And I don't know if that essentially passed the test or not, and they're going to do more of them other places. I don't know. But you'll get to see that if you follow or subscribe. I'm going to do this on my way home too in the afternoons between 4 and 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you follow or subscribe, you'll get a notification whenever I go live. But it'll be way more, it'll be daylight, so you'll be able to see all of that. And also, I'm going to try to do this in the mornings going forward, because it seems like there's enough people in, so I appreciate you. And also, going forward, because it's, what is it, is it the 5th or 6th? It's the 6th or 7th of October. And the leaves are just starting to change. So whenever I'm driving during the day, if you like fall leaf colors and that kind of stuff, people will actually travel to Missouri to see the leaf colors change and that kind of stuff. So you'll get to watch that for free if you follow and subscribe and watch while I'm driving. You'll get to see that kind of stuff for free. So and we are 2 intersections before the interstate too, so things are going to get a little more busy. Good morning. I just saw somebody else jump on here. So good morning. Just to let you know, the camera's tilted a little bit to get around the windshield mount. So if you'd rather view it in portrait or landscape mode, let me know in the comment section. I can't change it while I'm driving, but I'm just trying to figure out what the majority of my viewers are viewing it in portrait or landscape mode. So, and also, are you viewing it on your phone or TV? And where are you viewing from? Like, what part of the world? That's entertaining when I go back through the comment section. Once again, I'm not going through the comment section right now, but I will whenever I'm not driving. So it's just good to know if people are viewing stuff in landscape mode or portrait, and what type of device you're viewing it on. It just helps me know if I need to have my screen recording in landscape or portrait. Because I used to do it in landscape, and then a lot of people asked to turn it to portrait, so now I'm back to portrait. But if I have more people recording in landscape or viewing in landscape, I'll go back. just got off of Gravois or Highway 30, and we're going to merge on the 270 north. And there's a lot of people that mentioned we went from Highway 30, we're getting on to 270 north, and I call this an interstate. We call this an interstate around here, but some people kind of laugh at that, and they say this is still a highway. But because it's only like 4 lanes, sometimes 5 lanes, and people are like, that's not big enough. But it's I-270, so that to me is an interstate, not a highway. And also, I don't know if you're viewing or not, but for those that are not sure how interstate signs work, and it's kind of hard to see because this bigger truck's in front of me, but the exit sign, or where it says which exit you're trying to get off on, depending on where that's at on the overhead sign, will tell you which side of the highway, or even in the center, that exit's going to be. So if you're on like an interstate or something, and the interstate splits, and your exit is in the center of the sign, so like exit 2A, that exit's going to be on the right. 5B, that's going to be on the right, because it's on the right of that sign. If it was in the center, then that means whenever it splits, you're going to stay in the center. If it's, the exit sign is on the left of the overhead sign, that means the exit is on, you need to get over to the left lane. So a lot of people know that, but enough people don't, that I like to say that, because I don't know, maybe that's just not taught anymore. But and then all of a sudden, you know, people get out driving around and they're like, that makes no sense. I didn't know I was supposed to be in the left lane. Well, if the exit sign is on the left of the overhead sign, then that exit is going to be on the left side of the highway or interstate. Okay, I was kind of hoping that this guy was going to turn over. That way it's easier to see, and you viewers can see more in front. So there we go. Good morning. I just saw a couple jump on here. Good morning. Feel free to leave where you're watching from in the comment section. And also, are you viewing on a phone or a TV? And do you view it in portrait or landscape mode? That helps me. That way I know which way the majority of my viewers are viewing stuff. So. You can see this bridge up here. I don't know if you can tell or not. And a lot of it's, they haven't done new painting in a while, which is kind of a good thing. But that bridge and the next one, there's typically a lot of graffiti. There was like a graffiti war there for a while. One person would do whatever signage on it, and then the next person would come and paint over it, or maybe the the local municipality or whatever would paint over it, and then the next day or next evening, I guess, there would be new signage and painting. And also, I let people over like that. I mean, we're all trying to get somewhere. So I always try to leave a little bit of a gap, first of all, to be able to brake in time. But if somebody sees the gap, then they feel like it's okay to get over, like this person here. If they want to, somebody wants to get over, they can get over. I know a lot of people just tailgate the person in front of them, but I try to leave a gap. That way, see, like that person, come on over. It just helps the flow of traffic. And they sometimes change their mind. So once again, we're on 270 headed northbound right now. Fun fact, that sign right there that says Dordery Ferry, there's Dordery Ferry and Tesson Ferry. Those were actually competing ferry basically boats or whatever that used to go over the Mississippi before there was proper bridges. So Tesson Ferry and Dordery Ferry used to be competitors. So, and where, to my knowledge, where they get closer to the Mississippi is where their docking spot used to be. And essentially people used to drive to the ferry. I mean, how ferries work. You drive to the ferry, you get on the ferry, they cross it, you get off the ferry, and so on. And over time, they're slowly building a bridge, and then as soon as the bridge was there, obviously the ferries weren't needed anymore. But the name stuck around. more people jumped on. Good morning. We're on 270 right now, headed northbound. Always road work ahead. Seems like they've been working on that forever. So once again, we're on 270 headed northbound. So if you want, in the comment section, leave or chat session, leave where you're, or I guess write down or whatever, where you're from, where you're viewing from. And if you're viewing this in portrait or landscape mode. So I used to do this, and feel free to follow and subscribe. That way I'm going to do this in the mornings going forward, and also in the afternoons between 4 and 5:30 Central Standard Time. So I'm just curious if more people watch landscape or portrait, and do you watch it from your phone or the TV? So I used to do lives and record on landscape mode, and then enough people said that they wanted it in portrait mode. But now I'm starting to hear that more people are watching stuff in landscape mode. So maybe I'll go back, and that'll make it to where you see the camera's kind of tilted off a little bit. That's to get around my windshield mount. But if I'm doing it in landscape mode, I don't have that, because it obviously, you'll be able to see more. But landscape mode doesn't necessarily show up well if people are watching this in portrait mode. So let me know what you're watching it, landscape or portrait, and if you're watching it on your phone or a TV. So that'll help me going forward know which direction I need to do my lives from. So we were just on 270, now we're getting on 6440. So this is an overcast day. It's October 6th, 7th, something like that. This is the eastern side of Missouri. The depending on what part of the world you might be watching, this is the United States, Missouri, eastern side, just west of St. Louis. So this sign where you just saw that, where it said 28A, I was explaining that earlier. There's enough people, I guess, that don't know, not that they can't read the sign, but they don't understand wherever the exit on the upper part of the sign, wherever that's placed, whether it's on the right, center, or left, that'll tell you what side of the highway you need to get onto for your exit. The majority of them are going to be on the right, so like that says exit 28A, that obviously is on the right, so that's where you exit off of. But if you're on a highway or an interstate and the interstate splits into like 3 different locations, one goes to the right, one goes to the left, and then one kind of ramps up and goes to the, to essentially keeps going to the interstate or goes to a different interstate. That would be in the center, and then depending on your exit, whatever exit you're trying to get to, whatever sign, whatever side of the sign that's on, that's what side of the highway you need to get onto. Especially if there's a whole bunch of traffic where it's hard to get over. If your exit is on the left of the overhead sign and you're in the right lane, you need to start getting over and work your way over to the left, because that's where your exit ramp's gonna end up being. So this, where it says St. Louis Bank there to the right, that used to be a pristine, up, like huge, like chef school, and that closed down a couple years ago, which is sad, because on like one of those like kid kitchen Chef Ramsay shows or whatever, one of the winners was a kid from St. Louis, which is where we're at, and they gave him a full scholarship to that school next year. So hopefully that got ironed out, where he ended up going to a different school or whatever. But Chef Ramsay literally said, you've got enough skill that you're going to be a master chef or whatever. And he basically paid his whole way through school, which hopefully, like I said, hopefully that got moved to a different school where the kid still was able to become a master chef. But essentially this kid came from the lower, I don't know if it's the east side of St. Louis or north side of St. Louis, but basically like a rundown ghetto area. This kid made it on the show, and this kid was amazing cook. And Chef Ramsay saw that and knew his potential. And basically kids like, there's no way I can go to school. There's no way I can go to college. And basically Chef Ramsay was like, oh no, everything's paid. All you got to do is, do it, pursue it, and you will be, kind of thing. So, like I said, the next year that place closed, so I don't know. And now it's a bank. So apparently they needed a little bank there. Which, to be fair, south of that bank is, they purposely will transport money instead of planting a tree that takes 20, 30 years to grow. So I don't know what kind of money or who's that way, but those people have a lot of money that way. So we are on, once again, we was on 6440, now we're getting on 170 north. And this is an on-ramp that they installed, I don't know, probably 12, 15 years ago. It used to be you had to get off at 6440 and go down to an intersection and wait at stoplights and all of that, and the traffic was stupid. It took forever. Sometimes it'd take like 45 minutes to get through all of that. And then they did all these on-ramps and stuff. It's beautiful. It helps so much with the flow of traffic. Because now, boom, I'm on 170. once again, I'm going to do this in the afternoons too. So between 4 and 5:30 Central Standard Time. If you want to follow or subscribe, that way you get a notification whenever I go live. But hopefully it'll be less gloomy looking. It's really overcast right now. I do see emergency vehicle lights coming up about a mile back behind me. I don't know if they're going to turn off or if we're going to need to get over to the right a little bit to let them by. I don't hear them yet, so I do see their lights though. If they're going to be in the left lane, then I don't have to get over. But it amazes me the amount of people that don't get over for emergency vehicles. Whether it's some emergency vehicles already on the side of the road, you're supposed to go over to the left. That way, they're safer. And if they're coming up behind you, you're supposed to get over to the right, which I am going to get over to the right. And this might just be a tow truck, but either way, it's considered an emergency vehicle. If they've got red and blue lights on, get over. Yep. It's starting to spritz a little bit here. I didn't think it was supposed to rain today. There's a windmill, or a windmill, whatever you want to call it, and it never turns. They don't use it. They haven't used it in probably 4 or 5 years. They used to use it. I don't know, maybe a part broke and it's not available anymore. I don't know. But that business did a wind turbine, windmill, whatever you want to call it, and they also got solar all over the top of the business. And maybe the solar was enough to run the business and they don't need the wind turbine turning. I even looked at my phone earlier to see if it was supposed to rain. It didn't say anything about raining, just overcast. So once again, if you want, follow, subscribe. I'm going to try to do this every morning going forward now. It seemed like there's enough people that jumped on here and watched. And also, in the chat and comment section, if you can, let me know if you'd rather see it in portrait mode or landscape mode. And if you watch on a phone or a TV. It'll just help me going forward know which way the camera needs to be at the beginning, because for whatever reason with this last update, I can't just turn it from portrait to landscape. Whenever I do that, it grays out the screen. So all right, well, I'm going to jump off here. I appreciate you guys.